Good evening. Welcome to the Sattva project. Open heart, open. Come to the Sattva channel, the official online platform of the Sattva project. First of all, on behalf of the Sattva project, I would like to express our thankfulness to our StreamYard sponsor and media partners, Durin as FM. And not to forget also the important man behind the scene, our broadcast director, Brother Chong. Thank you very much for your generous contribution and kind efforts. Hi, Brother Chong. Would you like to say hi to everyone?
Hello, everyone. Very good evening. Thank you for tuning in to our audience. And also, please do like and share so that more people can benefit from our broadcast this evening. And for those who are watching on YouTube later, please do like and subscribe as well. And now back to you, Ram.
Thank you. I'm Ram. I'm the Sattva Youth Group Facilitator. We are going to have a very meaningful and beneficial meditation session today, guided by Venerable Myong An Sunim. So let me give you a brief introduction about Venerable. Before that, I will have to tell you that our talk today will be in three parts. First part will be the short talk, followed by let's sit and meditate, and third part will be question and answers and conclusions. So the meditation for world peace and global healing, sitting quietly at home, spreading love and kindness all around the globe. Venerable Myong An Sunim, usually called Sunim, was born to a Chinese family in Malaysia in 1959. He received his education in the UK and did his MBA and have worked in finance. Venerable began his meditation practice in 1992 after meeting his teacher, Zen master Sun in Hong Kong. He was ordained as a monk in 1997 and spent the next 16 years in Korea doing intensive meditation retreats. He received INCA, the authorization to teach Koans and lead retreats from two Zen masters in 2015. Venerable Sunim has over 30,000 hours of meditation experience, teaches mindfulness and Zen in Penang and internationally. His teaching approach combines the wisdom of the ancient teachers with the science of meditation to arrive at ways of practice that are well suited to our contemporary lifestyle. And as you might have noticed, in his title, there is a JDPS, which refers to Jida Pusa, which is a title of the authorization to teach in the Zen lineage, as he's a Zen monk from the Koan School of Zen. And Venerable is also the advisor to our Sattva project. Please welcome the Venerable Sunim.
Thank you, Ram. Thank you for that very kind evening to all of you, and thank you all for joining us here on the Sattva Project channel. So I'd just like to say a few words before we start the practice of meditation. And tonight I'd like to, for us to consider a couple of things. The first is that quite often, and this is what I had thought too when I first started practicing, was that I had to really stay focused on my breath when I was in meditation. And if I wasn't able to do that, then I wasn't practicing properly. Actually, that is not really the point. The practice actually is in the returning. The returning to the breath or whatever object of meditation that you have, when you notice that your mind has wandered off, has got caught up into thoughts or images. So that is actually the point of practice, to notice that you're no longer aware of the object of your meditation, and to come back to it without judgment and without expectations of what your meditation should be or should not be. So it's this kind of process where we or the training where we just keep coming back. And in that process, we also learn how to be kind to ourselves, not giving ourselves a hard time whenever our mind wanders off. So it's not so much about always being focused on our practice, but actually learning to come back whenever we wander off. And that is what happens to us in actual life, because our mind is always running around everywhere. And if we are aware of it, and that is our meditation practice, when we are aware of it in our daily lives, then we can quickly come back to what we're actually doing, what is actually in front of us. So that's how meditation can help us in our daily lives to learn to come back each moment that we are lost in our thoughts, because we learn to recognize it much more quickly. So practice of meditation isn't about becoming a better meditator. Most people think I've got to be a good meditator, but actually the practice of meditation is to get better at living life in the moment. How we learn to live life with greater wisdom, compassion, and empathy for others. So that is how meditation connects with our everyday life. So also the second thing that I want to ask you to consider is that whenever your mind wanders off, and regardless of how long you've been caught up with your thoughts, or whatever thoughts you're having, pleasant or unpleasant, don't be too upset by them. You can just say to yourself, make a mental note saying, it's okay, and then gently come back to your breath again. So those are the two things. The practice is actually in the returning to your meditation. And when we recognize that, actually there can be also a lot of healing that can take place when we don't beat ourselves up for our mind wandering off. And then second thing is, it's okay if we drift off into our thoughts. Just come back. So let's begin our practice by sitting upright, or if you need to lie down in a comfortable position. Close your eyes. Feel for your breath and allow your breath to breathe itself, letting the tension flow out of your body as best you can, relaxing into the sitting, into the meditation, relaxing your shoulders, your neck, your jaw. Where do you feel your breath? Is it at your lower belly, your chest, back of your throat, or at your nostrils? Wherever you feel it most strongly, allow your attention, allow your awareness to rest there, so that as best you can, you're aware of the full duration of each in-breath and the full duration of each out-breath. And whenever you notice your mind has wandered off, just gently come back, remembering that the practice is in the returning. And you find yourself emotionally disturbed by your thoughts, then just say to yourself, it's okay, it's okay. and just come back. You can make this mental note anytime. It's okay. It's okay. And return to your breath again, noticing what it feels like when you breathe in and breathe out. So let's start practicing like that. If you find yourself having been caught up in your thoughts for a long time, don't worry. Really, it's not a problem. When you realize it, then just gently come back to your practice. Come back to the breath. It's not a problem at all. And you can make a mental note to yourself saying, it's okay, it's okay. The practice is in the returning. Our breath is our anchor to the present moment. Whenever you're aware of your breath, for the full duration of the in-breath and the full duration of the out-breath, you're living in the present moment. There's no need to try to control our breath. Just allow it to breathe itself. When you're ready, taking your own time, open your eyes and become aware of the surroundings again. Stretching your arms, legs if you want to. And thank you for your practice tonight.
Thank you, Venerable. We might have some questions from the audience here. Let's see if we get some.
Okay. So whilst people are thinking about questions, tonight's topic is wisdom and compassion integrating Zen and Metta. So maybe I should say a few words about that. So what does compassion mean? So compassion, com means with, and passion means suffer. So compassion means putting the two words together means to suffer with or to suffer together. But nobody really wants to suffer together. You know, when you're suffering, I don't want also to suffer. So in the practical sense, compassion means this recognizing somebody's suffering, which requires empathy, which requires that you actually can feel for someone when you see their suffering. You can kind of almost like experience it or kind of relate to it. And then you want to do something to alleviate their suffering. So that's compassion. Compassion is not a feeling, it's actually an activity. So it's something that we practice. It's something that we do rather than something that we just sit in a state of like feeling compassionate. It's actually something that you have to, you know, it's an active verb, as I say. So, okay, do we have a question? Yeah.
Yes, indeed. The question is, can we integrate metta practice as a crucial part of body mind or bodhicitta?
Yeah. So, can we integrate metta practice as a crucial part of body mind or bodhicitta? Good question. They are not separate. It's just like saying, kind of, where does the river end and the ocean begin? Okay. So, if you want to practice bodhi mind, bodhicitta, which is love and compassion, and that is also metta practice, not separate. In fact, if we truly want to practice Buddhism, then all of this it's all part of the same whole, you know. So all the we can, for teaching purposes and for explanation purposes, we can kind of break it apart, you know. But actually, they are indivisible in a sense. That's what we call, you know, the oneness of mind. That everything flows from this oneness of mind, metta, bodhicitta. So it's not like choosing like little modules that you want to practice and then trying to fit them together like some kind of machine. So if you practice with its sincerity and with a clear direction, then all these things will start to appear. We can do, of course, we can do certain practice which will emphasize these various aspects like metta and bodhicitta, but they all come from the same point. Okay?
Okay. Venerable, may I use your sentence? The practice is in returning. Many
Sure.
thanks.
Please feel free to do that.
Thank you. And next question is, what is
By the way, okay, I have no copyright, on anything here. We're all copying from the Buddha. He has the original teaching. So we're all basically just saying what he is saying or copying what he's saying, and hopefully doing it in a way that does honor his teaching. But I don't have anything original, to be quite honest with you. It all comes from the Buddha's teaching. That's all it is, And his teaching is, the best teaching.
Okay.
Okay.
I have a personal question, Venerable, directly related on this. Why should we practice metta? So maybe that would give a lot of good understanding before we even start.
So what is it that you want? I mean, I really am not a salesman. I'm not saying you should practice this or practice that, but what is it that you want to do in your life, or what is it that you want out of your life? I think that's the first question that we need to ask. Then we can start on this path. If we have some question about our life, perhaps we may have difficult times in our life that we want to overcome, to learn how to overcome better, or we want to live our lives better, then that gives us a direction to find something that can help us. So rather than me, like a car salesman, say, hey, your car is too old and too shitty. You need this brand new car, and it's got all these new features, all the bells and whistles, you need it. But then you kind of like buy it, then you say, well, actually my old car was just working fine, and now I've got the big car loan to pay off. So actually, the more important point is to understand what it is that you want out of your life. So metta meditation, translated into fairly loosely into English, is also loving kindness, or if you don't really like the words loving kindness because they are kind of big words like love, which is very hard to define. Kindness is more relatable. We all know what kindness is. You can also think of it as a friendliness practice, learning how to be friendly to others and deepening our connection with others. So the Buddha taught metta meditation as an antidote to fear. That's how he originally taught it. And I think, as you know, metta meditation is the repetition of certain very general phrases directed at yourself and then others, and finally to all beings. So what is very interesting is that there has been a lot of scientific research into this kind of meditation, and they found that there are concrete benefits, and some of them are being able to handle stress and anxiety better. The others are being able to deepen your empathy and compassion with others, and also it helps us to deepen our sense of connection with all things. So in a nutshell, that's what metta meditation is. Very brief description and how it can help us. Okay.
Thank you, Venerable. Next
Sure.
question. What is koan practice? Can we have a koan of metta to begin with?
What is koan practice? Okay, so this is particular to Zen, the Zen school, and a koan is more like a case study. Okay, and originally how it appeared was that there were certain live interactions between, say, a teacher and student, and it was a very, and it perhaps is a very sort of impactful interaction. And so when others were present to witness it, they sort of realized, this is a very good teaching occasion, teaching event. So then somebody wrote it down and preserved the actual interaction, and all these different interactions were collected all down through time, and they became ways in which we used to teach the Dharma. So, for example, there is one very famous koan that many people use, and it relates to a Zen master called Joju. That's Korean, and in Chinese is Zhao Zhou. And a monk came up to him and asked him, does a dog have Buddha nature? So as you know, the Buddha said all things have Buddha nature. So I don't know why the monk had a question about that, but he came up to Zen Master Joju and said, does the dog have Buddha nature? And Zen Master Joju replied, mu, which means no. So this monk was like kind of taken aback, and he kind of had a blank, his mind stopped. So that interaction has been preserved as a teaching tool. It's one of the most famous koans. In Japanese Zen tradition, they hold this mu. What is mu? And so that becomes a teaching occasion, teaching device which we can use. So what koans help us to do is to experience what we call our not knowing mind, our mind of wisdom, instead of our mind of intellect and thinking. Because some of these these events cannot be responded to with a kind of thinking, cool thinking, analytical thought, because that's not what it's all about. When somebody asks, maybe your wife, your partner will ask you, do you love me? And then do you have to think about it? Do I love you or not? What do I love about you? If that happens, watch out. It's it's a primal response. You either love someone or you don't, but it's not about thinking, is it? So in a similar way with koans, it's not about figuring it out intellectually. It's about your wisdom mind working from a place, your mind working from a place of wisdom, which transcends thinking. Okay, transcends thinking. So that's what you do in Koan practice. In Korean, we call it Koan, so that's why I keep saying that. But in Koan practice, that's what you do. You go into a room with a teacher and you get a Koan interview, and then you practice. You, like anything else, the more practice you do, the better you get at it. So it's like you just keep on practicing. So in our school, during retreats, we have interviews twice a week, and you just keep practicing. You might get asked the same question quite a few times, and as you keep practicing meditation, your wisdom will develop, and eventually you'll answer the question. So that's what it is. So Koan practice to do with metta. I think we should perhaps have a more sort of simple question, and it's this: why do you eat every day? Okay, so this question at face value seems very, very innocuous. I can't even say the word innocuous. It's almost banal. Okay, but if you look at it more deeply, it's actually quite profound, because for us, eating is something we do as a biological function. But if you look at it more deeply, it's more than that. Okay. So when I first encountered this question in a Koan interview, my first reaction was that, wow, what? That's strange. Why this kind of question? And then very soon after that, it was like, duh, it's pretty obvious, isn't it? So then I answered I answered the teacher, because I get hungry. That's why I eat. And he went, nope. That wasn't the response that he wanted. So there is something deeper to that question than just the surface. Okay, there's a deeper meaning behind it. Why do you eat every day? I mean, all things have to eat. It's a question of survival. It's biological. Okay, animals have to eat. I have 2 dogs. I have to feed them every day. Otherwise, they will. If I stop feeding them, they will suffer, starve, and eventually they will die. Okay, so all of us who are living have to eat. Plants have to eat. Everything has to eat. But we, as human beings, are blessed with this amazing brain here, that we can understand so many things. We are capable of doing so many incredible things, and we're able to have this self-knowledge to know who we are. So why we eat points to something beyond just the physical or just the sensual pleasures of eating. It is really asking, why are you living in this world? Why are you alive? Because to eat is to live. But why do you live? So that's what the question is pointing to. And when you look at it that way, it's not so innocuous or banal anymore. Okay, so that is a question that we can work with and help to wake us up to the reality of our lives. So that's very simple, yet a very profound question. And that's, basically Zen Koan practice. You get a lot of these very simple questions, but they tend to be very profound. So why do you live every day? Okay. Why do you eat every day? So that's an example of a Koan practice, which has to do with metta also. Okay?
Thank you, Venerable. The next question is, what is the best meditation practice to overcome fear and anxiety? I would ask maybe anxiety in general and also in these specific times with this pandemic.
Yeah. Actually, nowadays, mental health is a very big issue, especially with the pandemic, with social isolation, with worries about our physical health. So the first thing is that, if you are experiencing issues in mental health, is to get professional help. Okay. Meditation is not a magic bullet to cure your mental health issues. It can make you more resilient to stress and anxiety and fear, but it's not a magic bullet cure. So let's be very clear about that to begin with. Okay. So do seek professional help. There are also a lot of helplines, volunteer helplines like the Samaritans, or I can't remember the rest of them, but talk to someone, because your mental health is as important as your physical health, although there's no obvious sign of it. When you're physically injured, there is a clear sign. You're bleeding or your bones are broken, but when you're mentally not at your best, nobody knows except you. So earlier I mentioned that the Buddha taught metta meditation, loving kindness meditation, as an antidote to fear, and also it works for anxiety. So if you have some occasions, it's not a severe case of you don't have a anxiety disorder or stress disorder, a clinically diagnosable stress or anxiety disorder, then you can try this metta meditation as a way to make yourself more resilient to stress and anxiety. Okay, that I understand is one of the more specific meditations that help in this way. It also helps in other ways too. It helps to helps you to be more to understand that everyone actually goes through the same problems. Everyone faces the same problems. I mean, you're not alone, which is the point, that you're connected. So metta meditation also helps us develop our sense of connection with others, and recognizing that we're all kind of in the same boat. Okay, so yeah, try that, but make sure, just check if you need to get professional help.
Thank you, Venerable. The
Okay.
next question is, what is the difference between metta and karuna? Loving kindness and compassion, what is the difference?
Good question. And I don't really want to make a distinction, because to have compassion, you need to have loving kindness. And to have loving kindness, you also need to have compassion. It's not something that you can separate, like you can, separate a nut from a bolt. It all goes together. I mean, maybe we like to kind of unpack it in a way so that we can kind of explain it better or look at it better. But actually, in practice, these things all come from the same point, as I explained earlier. Where does the river end and the sea begin? Where does loving kindness end and where does compassion begin? Or where does compassion end and loving kindness begin? There is no border. It is all part of the same sense of actually wanting to benefit others, to help others. Like the Dalai Lama said, a sense of altruism, and having a sense and being warm-hearted to others. So he always says, if you can, try to help others. And if you can't help, at least try not to harm them. So I think that's a very good way for us to proceed. It's that, really. It's not really something that you want to separate out and say, okay, I'm being loving and kind today, and I'll be compassionate tomorrow. It all actually comes from the same point, and we practice it together. And we practice it together, and we act on it together. Okay.
Thank you, Venerable. Okay, last question from myself.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if you can maybe point out an example where our natural qualities of metta and karuna can be felt, so we can build confidence from there.
So good question. So what examples of where metta can be felt? Is that right?
Our natural tendency to love and to care and to have compassion and our interconnectedness,
Okay.
something to help build our personal confidence on these views, because when we do practice, it sometimes become very external and become very methodical.
Yeah. Say you're walking along on the pavement, and in front of you a child falls down, he hurts his leg and starts to bleed. What feeling do you have? He's crying also. What kind of feeling?
It's very caring and also pain at the same time.
Yeah, right. So you feel the child's pain, you care, and you want to help, right?
Indeed,
That's all it is. So what it is really is to be able to feel others' pain and wanting to help them reduce their pain, to alleviate their pain or suffering. That's what it is. We are all naturally compassionate. That's what I believe. Okay. It's just that our thinking gets in the way. We think, oh, if I do this, maybe I'm being very soft. I'm not being perhaps tough enough as a person, or I shouldn't do that. They should be able to take care of themselves. We have all these thoughts that come in, But if we are able to not get caught up in the thoughts, then we are able to respond to the situation in a wise and compassionate way. So if the boy falls down in front of you and starts crying, you go, oh, what's happened? Don't worry, you're okay. We'll take you to your parents back home. We'll fix up your bleeding, or I can take you to a doctor. This kind of thing. Sometimes it's very straightforward and simple. Other times it may be a little bit more complex. But as long as you have this mind, like that, I like this warm-heartedness towards others, this sense of altruism towards others, then whenever a situation appears, that sense of, I can help will appear also. It's not there all the time, because you don't need it all the time. But when you need it, it will appear. But the important thing is to actually, we can develop this through practice. Everybody has a certain level. Some people have more, some people have a lower level, some people have a higher level. But if we practice, we can develop our sense of metta, our sense of compassion towards others. So it really is, that's why practice is so important.
Thank you,
Okay.
Venerable.
Sure.
Those are very, very beautiful questions and answers, and very, very compassionate of you to show very practical examples. That's very, very useful, I believe. I think we are at the concluding part. May I please ask the Venerable to please lead us to the dedication and conclusion prayer.
Okay, so let's put our palms together and I'll recite this 4 great vows as a dedication and conclusion to tonight's talk. And thank you all for watching and joining the talk. Sentient beings are numberless. We vow to save them all. Delusions are endless. We vow to cut through them all. The teachings are infinite. We vow to learn them all. The Buddha way is inconceivable. We vow to attain it. May all of you stay well, happy, and safe. Thank you.
Thank you, Venerable. We have some announcements for the future programs. So on the 22nd of August, we will have a discussion topic on what is Samadhi, Sadharma and Sadhamma, dialogue between Sanskrit and Pali tradition, which will feature Venerable Bhikkhu Dhyana Bodhi, Venerable Myong An Sunim again, Bem Mitruev, and the moderator will be Dr. Christy Chang. Thank you all. Please like our channel, like and share, and spread the word. Thank you from Satwa Project.